Okay, so let's immediately then go over to talking about the ASDSA. And just for the purposes of the formalities, let me just inform you that the workshop will be recorded. So please be aware of that. And we will make the recording available afterwards in case you need to go back and go and reflect on some of the things that we've covered here today. Okay, the Association for Skills Development in South Africa is a professional body for skills development in particular. We are a Section 21 company, and the organization has been around for a while, 2001. We are one of more than 100 professional bodies that are registered with SAQA. Okay, so we are a SAQA registered professional body. And for those of you that are not familiar with professional bodies, professional body membership, candidacy programs, I see Refilwe is joining us now. For those of you that are not familiar, the Association for Skills Development in South Africa it does for skills development professionals what SAICA does for accountants. So, you know, whereas someone in the accounting field can work towards becoming a chartered accountant and have a professional designation behind their name, that's what ASDSA does for us that work in skills development, in the skills development component of an organization. Okay, so just to contextualize it for those that are not familiar with professional bodies. Okay, so basically the vision of ASDSA is to seek to establish and to maintain the credibility of the skills development profession. And it's all about, you know, how do people view you when they think about you, when they discuss you as a skills development facilitator, for example? Do they discuss you in the context of a professional? How credible are you in their eyes? You know, can they entrust very serious responsibilities to you? You know, so what the ASDSA seeks to do, it seeks to bring credibility to skills development. Some of us have worked in skills development since before the CETAs, right? And when you're at a braai and you're having a discussion, what do you do? No, I'm in skills development. Okay, so what do you actually do? Well, you know, I implement projects, or I'm an SDF. What's an SD, skills development? What's that? Facilitator, what's that? No, I complete a workplace skills plan and so on, and you have this conversation. But you leave people confused. You leave people not knowing what does this mean. You know, and so what we seek to do is we want to bring credibility to this profession, so that, you know, in the same way that when you talk about the finance field and we're talking about someone who is a chartered accountant, suddenly, you know, there's a different level of importance placed on this person. They're placed in a different category because they actually are a chartered accountant. And that's the kind of credibility that you want to bring to the positions within skills development. You're an SDF, you're a trainer, you're an assessor, you're a moderator, you are a project manager in skills development, you are a manager, you're a supervisor, whatever role you play. Our intention, our aim, our vision is that people have a high regard for this profession, because they are, when someone comes to them with a professional designation, they're dealing with a serious professional, and that's the part that the ASDSA seeks to bring to skills development. Okay, so the candidacy program, what is it all about? The first thing is that the focus of the candidacy program is about the very mission and vision of the ASDSA. It's professionalization of skills development. So you guys in municipalities, you work with for example, engineers who need to belong to a professional body. You work with electricians, you know, and all kinds of other professions where the person must be registered in order to operate. So we're talking about professionalization of skills development, and it's yourself as the SDF and all the people involved in the execution of skills development and skills initiatives. That's where the professionalization focus is of the candidacy program. How do we do this? There are three legs, if we can refer to them as legs, that hold this table up, right? The one is the professional body membership. So the first thing that will happen with you is, after having been accepted onto the program and registered onto the program and your membership fees have been paid, you receive a membership certificate, which means that now you are a member of a professional body. Now, you'll come across many instances where you need to apply for something or you need to register for something. And one of the questions they'll ask when checking your credibility, they will ask, are you a member of a professional body? Now, that professional body membership component is the first thing that the candidacy program gives you. And so you go to your CV and you add the element that says, I'm a member of a professional body, right? And you can give the detail. Then the second leg is the professional designation. So you've got your professional body membership. And what does that actually mean? You plugged into a body of professionals. You are engaging with professionals. You will be part of various WhatsApp group discussions. You'll be part of various conversations that take place from time to time, workshops that are held where experts discuss specific topics related to skills development. You'll receive correspondence and updates on the latest legislative changes, regulatory changes, and everything around the skills development environment, right? That's the professional body membership component. And as a professional, you will probably be asked occasionally from time to time to deliver a presentation on a topic that you've chosen to specialize in. So it's, you know, it's that give and take. And so you've now become part of the professional family within skills development, right? So then comes the professional designation. And this is where you will now need to put together a portfolio of evidence, submit this, and it will be assessed. And we'll talk about the detail of that a little bit later on. So that's the second component of the professionalization journey. And then the third one is, once you've got your professional designation, you then become part of what is commonly known as CPD, your continuous professional development program. This entails constantly remaining up to date, constantly attending seminars, workshops, giving talks, mentoring and coaching people, registering for training, further training yourself. And through the CPD program, you are required to accumulate 30 points, 30 CPD points per year, which is a requirement for you to retain your professional designation, right? And we'll talk about that retention of the professional designation. So the CPD is the mechanism through which you accumulate those points every year so that you can retain your professional designation. Okay, so this is the candidacy program, what it looks like and how it's made up, and you know, so that you can have an understanding that there are 3 components that you are going to be involved in on this journey. Right, now having said that, let's just talk about professionalism for a moment. What is professionalism? What is professionalism? You know, having been involved in skills development, I mean, I come from before CETAs, and maybe some of you as well. Some of you might be quite new. Maybe some of you have been on the journey for a little bit. But whatever your experience is, if you've been in skills development, let's say for a year or longer, you will know the unethical practices that happen in this profession, the undesirable practices that happen. Now, whether it's by consultants or by administrators, officials in CETAs, maybe officials in municipalities, officials at the QCTO, you know, at SAQA, in whichever of the entities within skills development, there are behaviors and practices that are undesirable. We talk about honesty/dishonesty. We talk about people not meeting appointments, people making appointments and simply not meeting them, agreeing to appointments and not pitching, and not even giving excuses for not pitching. I mean, look at today. We have got 30 people registered for the candidacy program, right? We've got currently 11 candidates in the room out of 30. And, you know, we haven't received any apologies from people saying, you know, sorry, I'm not going to make it because X, Y, and Z. I think I've seen maybe 1 or 2. But already as a starting point, we look at it, and I mean, I ask you a question right now, and you know, I'm not asking for a response, but I'm just asking you to reflect. If someone outside of this candidacy program were to look at this and say, here's a project with 30 candidates, there's a workshop that's been pre-planned, pre-confirmed, you know, reminders sent via email, via WhatsApp group, and out of the 30 people, there are 11 who are attending the workshop, and nobody knows what is happening with the rest. Now, we know that it could be load shedding, and it could be internet problems, and it could be someone got sick, and it could be, there's a number of things, urgent. The MM suddenly asked me to attend a meeting on their behalf this morning. I wasn't aware, so I just had to jump and go. You know, my dog ate my something this morning and I had to attend to it or whatever. I'm saying there are many reasons why people could potentially not be here, valid and justifiable reasons. But the point I'm making is, we don't know, and you know, without being informed, it leaves that person on the outside looking at this group, asking, you know, and if you were to ask that person, do you think we are a group of professionals in your broad analysis? So that's a question. Now, and I mean, we're going to have this kind of discussion as we go along, because, as I said when I opened, that being part of the professionalism and the candidacy journey, it includes, it's about your professionalism at work, it's about your professionalism in terms of your conduct, in terms of your performance, but it's also about your conduct on this very program. You know, as they say, charity begins at home. So let's just, and I'm just planting that seed for an awareness, and I must commend those who are here today, because it's an indication that you are serious about the program and you were professional enough to honor you know, your commitment to be part of the program. I am saying there may be justifiable reasons why others are not here, but the absence of an apology starts raising the question. So then we know that there are many other things that happen. I mean, people try to fraudulently sign claim forms in skills development. When it comes to independent consultants, people will crisscross the country, you know, because there's money to be made. So they will, you know, maybe tell companies that, listen, I am the CETA appointed SDF. You must work with me. I'm going to fill in this form. Please, can you sign here? When that is not 100% the truth, you know. So there are many undesirable things. Trainers cut corners in class. Assessors cut corners when assessing portfolios. Do the moderators do the right thing all the time, and so on. So, you know, it's across the board. It's our behavior in terms of being true to our word, honoring our word, being responsible when unforeseen things come up, being contactable. You know, you receive an email from someone saying, I need X, Y, and Z. Please, can you tell me, you know, asking you for information. And then you choose to ignore the email. I'm not going to respond to that email. I'm not even going to say I'm working on it. Or you receive an invitation to a meeting and, you know, I can't make the meeting, but how about a response to say that I'm sorry, but I can't make it for the meeting? So it's those kind of things that we're saying constitute professionalism. What is integrity? Integrity is about doing what you say and saying what you do, and, you know, being a person of your word. I mean, we could go on and on and on about this, but we do have a specific development workshop that covers the topic of professionalism and professional conduct, where we'll now go into a lot more detail concerning these things. But I think it's important for us to have a clear understanding when we say candidacy program and professionalism. What is this thing that we're talking about? Your behavior on a daily basis. When you wake up in the morning and you arrive at your desk, that behavior is not a separate thing from the candidacy program, which you need to attend to. That behavior is part of the candidacy program. And so, you know, it's just about making you aware that we are on this journey, and the candidacy program, the intention is that not only do you hold a professional body membership certificate in your hand and a professional designation certificate in your hands. You can set those two things aside. Your conduct should be your best evidence of professionalism. It should supersede the actual piece of paper. And so that's what we are talking about when we talk about professionalism. Okay, so what we'd like to do is we would like to have a brief discussion about professionalism. And I think at this stage, what time are we on now? We're on 10:27. Yeah, we'll continue. Perhaps we'll take a break after the discussion. So we'd like to have an open discussion with yourselves, and we'd like to get some inputs from you, right? Sometimes when we do this program, at this stage, we'll break you up into smaller groups and we'll have smaller group discussions on the topic, and then we'll have inputs from the groups afterwards. But we've looked at the numbers and we've said, you know what, because the numbers are so low, let's just have an open plenary discussion, right? And reflect and hear what your inputs are. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my screen. Let me just change the screen here because I want to share. Okay, just hold on a second. Yeah, I'm going to share now the other view, my presenter view. Okay, Andy, please confirm that I am sharing the correct screen.
Yes, yes, you are sharing the correct screen.
Okay, let me just do this.
On slide 7.
Okay, great. That's exactly where I need to be. I just want to do full screen mode. And then, right, let me go to slide 8. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this, colleagues, is because I would like you to now give us some inputs. Andy, will they be able to unmute themselves?
Yes, what I suggest that you do, you can unmute yourself, but just to keep things focused, I suggest that you raise your hand when you've got something to contribute. And Jonathan, you can then ask people to unmute and bring them in.
Yes, okay, perfect. Perfect. So let's do this. So I would like you to think about what professionalism means in your role as a skills development facilitator. Or if you have a slightly different role, in that role that you play, you're involved in the skills development environment in local government, right? What does this mean? Now, we've categorized it into conduct and performance. And I'd like to hear your inputs as an SDF in the municipal space. What does it mean? What does professionalism mean? And I mean, in the context of everything that I've explained to you up to now. So what is professionalism in your job? Let's hear you. Come, colleagues, I don't bite, eh? Okay, Keke, let's hear you. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi.
Good morning, colleagues. I think one of the things that needs to be identified when you were referring on being loyal and not missing appointments, we also have to look at the question of arrival at work in the Office of Skills Development. And are we always on time when we come to work? Number 2, we have 8 hours of work in our offices. What is it that we are actually doing during those 8 hours? Are we doing our normal job? Are we performing? Let's say one of the duties is to coordinate the training committee meeting. How long do I take to do such? And what is it that I'm exactly doing during the 8 hours that I'm here? Because sometimes you find I either spend about 3-4 hours looking in the internet, things that are not related to my job at all, or I spend 2 hours chatting to my friends, or I take about an hour or 2 outside office, and at that moment, there are things that needs to be done. That is the first one that I need to raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, just remind me, it's about spending time chatting to others, and what was the other one? Doing searching the internet, I think you said, eh?
Yes, I said also searching the internet, and also, okay, spending time either chatting with friends around the office or also on our cell phones. You spend more time on the cell phone rather than doing what we are supposed to be doing at work.
Okay. Searching the internet. Okay, so these are habits, time-wasting habits, and habits that are not adding any value at work. Okay, thank you for that, Keke. Very, very nice inputs. Let's hear, there's someone on the chat here. Let's see. Good morning, Chairperson. I'm unable to contribute since I'm attending Corporate Portfolio Committee. Oh, that's Malusi. Shame. Thank you, Malusi. Now that is commendable, that at least we've heard from Malusi why he's unable to contribute. Is Malusi still
yes,
logged in, Andy?
still with us. I see,
okay, thank you.
Got a hand up.
Okay, who's got a hand?
Lisiba.
Oh, Lisiba. Okay, let's hear you, Lisiba. You can unmute.
Good morning, Jonathan and everyone. I think professionalism in terms of conduct, it's the way you conduct yourself at the workplace in relation to your job. What I'm saying is that in terms of your conduct, it will mean that the image that you portray within the skills development environment, it would be the behavior, and I will agree in terms of arrival on time. I will also contribute to the discipline that you portray within the environment. And in terms of performance, it will mean that the tasks that are being delegated to you are executed within the time frame and with in consideration with the feedback that you need to communicate. You need also, which is it's important to communication is important in skills development with regards to the feedback or communicating the task that you need to execute, whatever task that you have to do. And also in terms of performance, it will mean that there will be a lot of research that you need to do in relations to the task that you're doing in skills development. In example, you would have in terms of training the workforce within the municipalities. You need to understand the levels of skills of those people and to understand the communication level that you need to portray. There are people at the base level that might not have probably access to emails like that. So you need other methodologies to communicate with them and to make sure that they also understand the programs in skills development that are accessible for them. Because in most cases, especially in municipalities, what we don't have is effective communication to get to those people to understand the programs that we offer that are available for them. So, and also in terms of the skills gap, the HR entirely, the HR reports that are being obviously accessed by people in the corporate office, but then they can get to the workforce. So mainly, I'm more passionate about making sure that those people who are at the baseline, and especially the workforce, that they don't have access to communication and so forth, we make sure that those tasks are executed and those people understand the programs in place for them to access. So in terms of the conduct and performance, I think, I think it's the way you conduct yourself, you communicate with your colleagues, and you provide feedback and make sure that people understand what role are you playing, especially in that environment of skills development.
Okay,
thank
so
you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Lisiba. So
Yes.
Also about understanding your role, no? Clearly understanding your role.
Yes.
What have I done? Hold on, sorry. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That's really very, very good. And it's clear that you are engaging the topic deeply, because you're reflecting on what does this professionalism mean in the job that we're doing, right? So imagine somebody doesn't understand their role clearly as an SDF. How does someone else view that person? As a professional? You know, and that's again a question that I'm just leaving out there. Right. Let's hear any more inputs.
Jonathan, there are a couple of comments in the chat room that's useful to look at.
Let me have a look. Okay, we've got Malusi. Sanelisi says, good morning, Chairperson. To me, professionalism means being productive at work by focusing on my, okay, let me just cut that. Professionalism means productive at work by focusing on my responsibilities as an SDF and being accountable for my work. Wow. Wow. I'm just going to paste it exactly like that. Let's do that. Being productive at work. Okay, let's just cut that out. Okay, thank you, Sanelisiwe. And then another one. Clarence. Okay, Clarence says, good morning, Chairperson. Ish, Andy, I'm being referred to as Chairperson today. I feel very honored.
Smart.
To me, professionalism means to assist the workforce when needed and give feedback when necessary. Again, the feedback thing comes in. Thank you, Clarence. Okay, I'm going to cut it, copy it from there. And this has to do with the performance of the SDF. Thank you, Clarence. Your point is added. To assist the workforce when needed and give feedback when necessary. Yes, feedback is coming back again. And I gather that the feedback issue is not receiving the attention that it should be receiving. And I mean, it almost links to the issue I mentioned earlier, where you're not going to make it for an appointment. Why are you unable to take 30 seconds to inform the people that you are not going to make it? I mean, you know, it sort of relates to connecting with the people that you're working with. And of course, feedback to the people whose training you are planning. very critical. Okay, so we will go into detailed discussions about that, these topics when we do the professionalism workshop itself. But let's hear, are there more inputs? I see more people have joined us. For those that have just joined, we are having a discussion about what is professionalism in your job as skills development facilitators. Or you might be an admin person, or you might be an HR manager. What does professionalism mean in relation to the points that you see on the screen there? What would you add as additional? Let's come back to the conduct part here. What are your thoughts? I've attended, over the years, I've attended many SDF forum meetings in the different provinces. And I can tell you that in those discussions, I get to hear how LG-CETA is at pains because people are not submitting their stuff on time. They're missing deadlines. There's always that kind of challenge that I hear the LG-CETA provincial offices struggling with. People not attending meetings or not giving apologies, it's not uncommon. Those are behavior related issues, but I'm wanting to hear it from yourselves. Okay, there's more chats, let's see. Okay, Putti says, right, Putti was the next one. Have leadership skills regardless of the level of seniority. It assists on decision-making, goal setting, and remain calm under pressure. Wow. Wow. Remain calm under pressure. So let's bring that one. I think that one is probably sitting on this side, but we can always correct it afterwards. Have leadership skills regardless of the level of seniority. It assists in decision-making, goal setting, and remaining calm under pressure. The leadership skills. Okay, great. Thank you for that, Putti. And then I see that Emerald. Good day. Professionalism to me means acting appropriately all the time. Now that word appropriately needs to be defined. Let's see. Speak in a manner that is acceptable and careful, being punctual and fair. Okay, there we go. Let's just cut it from there and bring it over here. Right. That's Emerald's input. Thank you, Emerald. Acting appropriately all the time. Okay, that's broad, but let's keep it there. Speak in a manner that is acceptable and careful. I suppose we could also add the word considerate, no? Considerate, responsible, all of those kind of words, right? And then being punctual. Now, arriving on time has been captured there. Arriving on time at work. Let's say being punctual. Let's put Emerald's point in there. Arriving on time at work, okay. And I'm sure you also mean being punctual at meetings, etc. Including arriving on time at work. Okay, we can take it out from there. And being fair in all dealings. Yes, let's put that as a separate one. Being fair in all dealings towards employees. Brilliant. Well, in any case, you are confronted with the Employment Equity Act, which deals with fairness in the workplace, isn't it? but the professional will be fair regardless of what the act says. You are fair because you are a professional. So we don't behave professionally because of legislation. I might as well add that because I brought in the point about legislation. Let's see, there is Refilwe. No, let's start with, wow, we've got quite a few now. Okay, Ntabi Singh says professional means being able to monitor and evaluate programs and make analyses. Okay, being able to monitor and evaluate programs. And okay, so this is about efficiency, being efficient and being capable of doing your work, right? So let's put that point in here. I'm probably going to make this text a bit smaller. We can always fix the other editing at a later stage. Just to fit it in, I'm going to make it, let's make it 12. Okay, so being able to monitor and evaluate programs and make analyses. Okay, great. That's part of being competent in your job, right? Then we've got Ntebohe Leng. Oh my word, please, you're gonna have to forgive me. Professionalism means the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. Wow. Wow. Okay, this is the stuff. Now we're talking about conduct. Thank you for that. The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. We deal quite a bit with the issue of morals and ethics in the ethics workshop. We have a development workshop that covers the topic of ethics and ethical conduct, and we go deep into that. Okay, so just for your information, there are 6 development workshops that we run as part of this candidacy program, and they're spread out. Your specific development workshops will start from next year, and we will communicate quite extensively in advance. Okay, so that point very nicely made. Refilwe says, good morning, Chairperson. Professionalism is being disciplined and leading by example. Okay, let me cut that. Being disciplined, leading by example, having clear communication channels, paying attention to what you do and what you say. Brilliant. Okay. So we're starting to touch on the issue of integrity. Okay. Let's see. Looks like that. Being disciplined, leading by example, having clear communication channels. But this also includes paying attention to what you do and what you say. Nice. Thank you, Refilwe. Well put. The next one. Oh, not quite finished yet. Let's see what you do and what you say. And complying with the company, okay, company's code of conduct. Oh, there we go. There's something. Complying with the company code of conduct. Most importantly, treating others in the workplace with courtesy and respect. One last thing that I believe is important, which I left out, is avoiding office politics. Refilwe, you are opening up a nice can of worms. Let's do this. I would like to, because of space, I'm just going to duplicate this slide. We've got that one, and we've got the second one. Oops, slide number 7, 8, 9 is a duplicate, so I can delete this and paste. Refilwe. Okay. Complying with the company's code of conduct and the code of ethics, okay. Most importantly, treating others, okay, let's make that another point. treating others in the workplace with courtesy and respect. Right. And sure. Avoiding office politics and gossip at all times. Powerful. Powerful. Okay, so we can take this away. Okay, right, and let's see, are there more? I think Refilwe was the last one there. Yeah. Thank you, Refilwe. Okay. Wow. So we've really gained momentum on the inputs. So we will clean it up. We will, you know, just do whatever editing and formatting is necessary. And then we will share this presentation with yourselves. We'll post it in the WhatsApp group so that you have the entire presentation, which includes your inputs here on what we consider, what you consider to be professionalism in skills development. Thank you, colleagues. So that's captured now on slide number 8 and slide number 9. Is there any other contribution that anyone would like to make? Something that's not covered here. Okay, we can always come back to it later if points come to mind, because the slide will be here. I can go back to it and add your point if you do have. So I think we can pause at this point in time. And what I would like to suggest then is that we do take a short break. It's 5 to 11 now. And I see, Andy, that we have a few more that have joined as well. So we're basically still sitting on less than 50% of the number of people that are registered on the program, which is still not good. But you are here, and we will do justice to this process. So let's take the break. It's 5 to 11. Let's do a 15-minute leg stretch and be back at exactly 10 past 11. On mine, it's 10:55 now. We'll start again at 10 past 11 exactly. Thank you, guys. Oh, sorry, hold on. Kiki, your hand is up. Is it an old hand?
Hi, I think it's an old hand, but I was already typing on the chat box.
Oh, I see.
I'll just have to say what I wanted to say on the chat. You also referred on the issue of SDF forums at the LGCTA level in the provinces. I think one important aspect there is submitting reports on time, not waiting for a reminder. If a deadline says Friday the 18th, then don't wait until Friday the 18th and then submit, but prepare your report well in advance so that you are able to cover everything that needs to be covered in the report. And also there are other communications that come to our attention and we do not respond in time, or we do not respond at all. And then only after we've been reminded we respond. I think that's part of professionalism in terms of our performance. How do you respond to issues that relates to your work? Thank you. And the hand must go down.
Thank you, Keke. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll place them under the correct category. I'm just using my best judgment for now. Some might belong this side or whatever, but we'll clean that up. Okay, thank you, Keke. That's a very good one to end the session with. Okay, so let's then still stick to 11 because we don't want to, to delay. We want to be efficient and still finish on time. So we'll be back then at 11 and continue the session. Thank you, folks. Okay, it's 10 past. Let us continue. We've spoken about professionalism, what it means in our skills development environment. And I think we can all relate to the things that colleagues were saying. Thank you for all your valuable inputs. Now, there is a concept that says everything that you've learned, 70% of what you've learned, of all the learning that you've acquired and accumulated up to now, 70% of it has happened informally, through informal learning. And this is basically the learning by doing process. I remember the late Professor Merlin Mel, who was the chairperson of the Wholesale and Retail CETA board, who was fond of saying that the biggest production of knowledge is the workplace. And we know, I mean, there's many adult learning concepts that will tell you that adults learn best by doing. So everything that you know, think about it. Out of all the things that you've learned up to now, 70% of that learning has happened while doing, right? And it's a well-researched concept that says the other 20% of learning is what you've acquired from colleagues, from your social circles. In other words, you've gained that from others, from your interactions with others, attending workshops and those kind of things. Only 10% of what you have learned comes from your formal qualifications, from formal learning. And so when we look at the professional within the context of the analogy of the iceberg, we look at the professional from that point of view when we talk about the professional designation, when we talk about professionalism, when we talk about the entire candidacy journey, right? The ASDSA's focus primarily is on that 90% of learning, which is the 20 plus the 70 that you've acquired. Of course, the qualification is always going to be critical because the qualification is the fundamental basis upon which you build your further learning. But the qualification is easy because you've got the certificate and you tick that box and you meet that requirement. So you've got the theoretical knowledge and you've got the understanding of the practical application of that knowledge. But where we focus most of our evaluation of a professional is on the 90%, right? So that's basically, and I mean, see yourself as this professional within the context of this concept and realize how important that informal learning is. And therefore, as you do things at work, as you discover new things, because of your experience of doing, it's very important that you capture that learning and you record it. And you'll start understanding the importance of recording these learnings and experiences as we continue talking about the portfolio of evidence for the purposes of your professional designation that you are pursuing. By the way, I didn't mention, but you are now aware that when it comes to the professional designation itself, there are 3 designations. You would have seen this when you went into the first self-evaluation link that I sent you in the email. You've got the technician, which is more suitable or designed for people who are more or less your admin support in skills development. So it's people at a much junior level, and they're providing all the back office and admin support. Then you've got the professional designation for practitioners, or the practitioner designation. And that one is your implementers. This is your SDF your trainer, your assessor, moderator, those kind of people who actually roll up their sleeves, are involved in the doing part, right? But it's important to note that this practitioner person cannot necessarily or cannot only be an order taker. A practitioner is not a person who takes data from people and captures it onto a template. That's a technician. So there's an application of the mind. There's a link to the strategy that we're trying to achieve. So it's not necessarily the strategic thinker and the researcher, but it's the person who implements, but with a clear understanding of where does this implementation fit into the bigger strategy that we're trying to achieve. And then you've got the skills development master. So this is the strategist. This is the strategic thinker. This is the researcher. This is the best practice person. This is the person who explores better ways of doing. This is the person who goes and delivers position papers at conferences. This is your HR director of a national corporation. This is your let's say within your municipal space, I think about the person like your corporates. In some municipalities, you have the corporate services director, under whom the HR also falls. Or in some you have where you have the HR director, who's then responsible for the entire HR, including skills development. So this is your very senior person, but also deeply involved in crafting and paving the way for skills development in that particular sector. So that's your skills development master. And so that gives you a better idea of the 3 designations that we have, which are all registered with SAQA as a matter of interest as well. Okay, so we're talking about the professional designation now, and we'd like you to see this distinction between a designation and a qualification. Now, it's not that the one is more important than the other. Not in the least. What we're saying is understand the difference between these 2 things, all right? So that you can understand the requirements for acquiring a professional designation, and you can also understand where does it fit into the bigger picture. What is the significance? What does it mean? What does a qualification mean? You know that already. But in comparison with that, what does a designation mean on your CV? Okay, so we're looking at the notion of an assessment of learning when it comes to the qualification versus the evaluation of work experience when it comes to a designation. And that's why I was saying that there's a stronger focus on that informal learning that you've accumulated over the years when it comes to the designation. All right. So when we talk about a qualification, we're talking about a process that guides the assessments that in turn define the learning content. And I mean, as SDFs, you will know what this means, right? The qualification, you are assessed based on the content of the training intervention or the learning program that you have undertaken, right? So that you are not going to be finding questions in the exam that were not covered in the learning intervention. So the assessment and the learning intervention are directly linked with each other in a qualification. The assessment, it is exercises against a specific learning program, and I've mentioned that already. And it is a finite body of knowledge and the application that is being assessed. So you are tested on your ability to demonstrate that you have the knowledge. And then you are tested on your ability to demonstrate that you understand how to apply the knowledge. And so the exam questionnaire or the portfolio of evidence are structured in such a way that they are seeking to test that knowledge that you have of the actual theory and explaining how to apply the theory. So there's a strong focus on the knowledge and the application of it, right? When you have a qualification, you've got your certificate, that's it, it's in the bag, you do nothing else. You are done. So are you required to remember the information so that you can retain your qualification? No. I bet you half of us, or maybe even more, I'm sure more than half of us would fail a matric paper today. Because you were tested on your ability to remember that theory during the exam, right? Now, your ability to remember that theory afterwards is not relevant because the certificate is yours for life, right? So that's a qualification. Has anyone ever lost their qualification a few years later because they didn't remember the information? No. You've got it for life. Okay, now the designation is a different ball game, guys. It's totally different. In the case of the designation, it is the gathering of work experiences to demonstrate competence against broad competency descriptions. So you've seen the designation descriptions when you did the self-evaluation. You read the definition, the description of a technician, a practitioner, and a master. So what the designation is, it's about the actual work experience that you have accumulated, and it's past tense, right? It's past tense. You've already done these things. It's your ability to demonstrate your competence against those descriptions in a portfolio of evidence. So you're going to be required to put together a POE, okay? We will, but we'll get to that. Let's just look at the rest of this comparison. The professional designation process, the pursuit of a professional designation and the submission of a POE for you to be evaluated, it is in actual fact an RPL. Think about it. We're looking at your prior experience. Have you implemented a project? Yes. Have you implemented a learnership? Yes. What role did you play there? What role did you play? Demonstrate to us what role you played, what outcome you achieved, and what documents can you show us as evidence that you played that role. It's an RPL, right? So you've got to be able to demonstrate this consistent performance, competence over a period of time, right? And you've got to back it up with the evidence, and the evidence is in the form of documents. So there are emails, and we'll talk about those details. You are aware that we are still going to do the POE building workshop. That's the workshop that follows this one. You've already got the dates, and we'll talk about the dates as a reminder before we finish today. In that workshop, we're going to go into the detail of the evidence, the types of evidence, what not to use, what you can use, and you know, we'll unpack it in detail. But here we just want you to have a clear understanding that a qualification is very, very critical. It's one of the things that we look at as part of the evaluation. And you've seen in the description that there's a minimum qualification requirement for the different designations. But you will also have seen that there are years of experience that are minimum requirement. And then we look at your actual experience. What is that experience that you have built up? And how does it relate to the different competencies in the in that specific designation description? The challenge that you're going to find is that we're dealing with hard to prove, naturally occurring evidence. So what happens? You have a discussion, you had a discussion with, let's say, 20 interns. You mentored them, you gave them guidance, you gave them support. And as a result, there were some positive changes that took place as a result of your role, right? Where's the evidence? What evidence do you have? And that's why we say it becomes difficult sometimes to prove, because it's naturally occurring evidence that you now have to go and reflect on, what am I going to use to prove that I played this role in this particular situation? So that's where it differs as well from the qualification. In the qualification, you don't get tested on naturally occurring evidence. You go and study the content, you get yourself ready, and you go and write the exam. Or you put together your POE and you put your evidence, you go gather your evidence, you give your explanations in the POE, and you submit. Here you need hardcore evidence to prove that you did certain things, right? Showing consistent good performance over a number of years, we've already said. And now, you don't get a designation for life. When you gain your designation now through this candidacy program, right, which should happen during the first half of next year, should have your designation. When you have your designation certificate in your hands, you don't get to keep it for life. In this particular program, your membership fee has been paid for 3 years. Now, the normal requirement is that every year you must pay your renewal, membership renewal fees. That's the first thing. But for you, membership has been paid for 3 years by the LGCTA funding, right? So that you can tick that box for 3 years. But that's not the only thing you need. You will still lose your membership, your designation. You won't lose your membership, but you'll lose your designation if you don't remain up to date. And remaining up to date links to what I explained earlier, the third leg of the candidacy program, which is the CPD, the Continuous Professional Development Program. So the accumulation of CPD points is a requirement for you to retain your designation. And how you retain your designation through that requirement is you accumulate 30 points, 30 CPD points, so that you can retain your designation. The detail of how the CPD program works will be covered in a specific CPD workshop during the course of next year. So we won't go into that detail now. Of importance for you to understand, here is the broad distinction between the qualification and the designation. And if you forget all the other details, just remember: certificate, qualification for life. Designation, certificate, you need to remain up to date. You need to remain up to date, and you do that by accumulating points, which is done through attending workshops, attending seminars, registering for training yourself, mentoring and coaching others, and keeping records of all those things. And as I said, the detail will be covered in a separate workshop where we then unpack how exactly do you accumulate these points. Okay. So what does a qualification give you? And what does getting one entail? I think we've covered this, but think about this part. A qualification is a test of your memory capacity. When you sit in an exam for 3 hours and you're going to write a paper, it is only your ability to remember that theory for 3 hours that is being tested. If you can remember all that theory and you can put it on paper in 3 hours, you will get your certificate, you'll pass, you'll get your marks, right? So in a sense, it is actually testing your memory capacity. the application of your skills to demonstrate understanding. So you are asked questions about how do you apply this knowledge, and I've already covered that. So so this is what a qualification entails, right? And the last point, of course, I've already emphasized, you don't have to update your knowledge in order to retain your certificate. You're not required to do that. Okay, so what does a designation give you? Now, as a professional, when you hold a professional designation, you embody trust, honesty, integrity, ethics, high quality of work, and reliability. When you become a member of a professional body like you are now, ASDSA, besides your code of conduct and ethics at work, you also have to comply with the code of conduct of the professional body. And the ASDSA has got a very clear code of conduct, which we will cover when we do the professionalism workshop as well. Okay, so when you hold a professional body membership certificate, when you hold a professional designation, these are the kind of attributes, right? And it's always going to be based on your track record. It's always going to be based on consistent high performance and good conduct, by the way, right? Ethical conduct, professional conduct, and about keeping up to date and being current in your field. Imagine you are an SDF and you don't know that the CETA regulations have been changed. You don't know that. Now, guys, I worked in a CETA for 10 years. I've been in skills development for probably more than 30 years, right? I know that our colleagues that we work with in skills development, you often find the colleague is giving people the wrong information because he or she didn't go and read or is not even aware that the regulation amendment is out. I found people running with the learnership regulations a year after the workplace-based learning program agreement regulations were gazetted. A year after people are talking about the learnership regulations. Man, these regulations were repealed a year ago. You're still talking about a learnership agreement, you know? So a professional remains up to date. And this is the confidence that the candidacy gives to employers. You employ a person with a professional designation. You are employing someone who is professional, who is ethical, and who is up to date in the field of expertise that they're about. You know, so this is what it gives you. It gives you that credibility, and that's why in our mission we talk about the credibility of the skills development professional. So it's about being a professional, really, a true professional. Okay, what does our process focus on? It's the competency descriptions. I've already covered that. The candidate must give an example of the working experience. I've emphasized that. And guess what? The evidence that you give, we still follow the same VARCS principles. The issues of your evidence being valid, being authentic, being what's the R for? Not realistic, relevant. The evidence being relevant, right? The evidence being current, and then the evidence being what's the S, Andy? Just remind me.
Sufficient.
Sufficient. You must meet the sufficiency expectations in the assessment of normal POEs. We talk about you must meet the sufficiency expectations of the assessor. Guess what? We apply the same principles when we do the evaluation of a portfolio for the candidacy program. So it's a classic RPL, right? And we apply the same assessment principles which are actually a global standard for assessments. And then, okay, and it allows the cognate qualification. So there's the minimum NQF level within a certain field, right? And you've seen those qualification descriptions in the designation descriptions. I've noted that for those of you, because I've completed the self-evaluation mentorship sessions with many of you, the rest of you, we're still going to continue this week. I've noted that for everyone that I've sat with, you've actually correctly selected the relevant designation that matches the qualification, minimum qualification requirement. So that part I could see that you fully understood. Of course, you've been working in the qualification and learning intervention environment, so you would understand those. Okay, now how do you gain a designation? So you're going to be required to submit a portfolio of evidence. And as I said, we're going to do a POE building workshop where we're going to explain all the nuts and bolts about developing a POE, understanding evidence, referencing your evidence, packaging your POE, how do you upload, how do you submit. All the detail will be covered in the POE building workshop. Guys, you need to prioritize that workshop. You cannot miss that workshop because the success, your success or in the pursuit of a portfolio, of a designation, depends heavily on your fully understanding how to do a portfolio of evidence. So you need to prioritize that date and diarize it. And you need to, if needs be, manage your process to say, I am not available on that date for those 3 hours. I am attending a critical workshop that I cannot miss because it has to do with my professionalism, my credibility, and the way that I function even at work here. In fact, especially at work here. Okay, so you will then, with this portfolio, be required to provide examples of your workplace competence from your own history. And I'm not going to bore you with the detail right here now. I've covered a lot of this as I've been explaining. And as I said, we will really go into detail when we do the POE building workshop. Just understand that you will be required to do a POE. That POE needs you to say, for this competency that says, have you ever developed a skills development strategy, for example? You must be able to say, yes. If you say, yes, I have, you must be able to provide examples from your workplace competence, from your own work history, right? And those examples, you're going to need to have evidence, verifiable evidence to confirm what you say, that you've actually done this. Okay, then how do you gain a designation? There is an element of commitment that is necessary. There is an element of commitment. Guys, be aware that you need to really put a peg in the ground and plan your time. You must include your candidacy program in the planning of your time because it hasn't been part of your day-to-days up to now, right? You've got to make a concerted effort to actually build it in now. If you don't do that, you are going to be missing deadline after deadline. You are going to be missing commitment after commitment on the same journey where you are trying to become a professional, or you are intending to improve your professional image because you're already a professional. Now, you've got to set aside time. The number of hours, it can differ from person to person, but you need to set aside time. 16 hours is a sort of giving you a rough indication of what is the kind of time commitment that you must be prepared to set aside. You may need to put more time, right? But just know that you've got to build it. If you don't deliberately build it into your normal planning, you're going to struggle, right? And if you haven't been doing proper planning of your time up to now, and you've been operating in crisis mode, I know that some of you, you'll have a silent smile where you are now, because you know exactly. I mean, in skills development, we know this, right? It is quite common for entities, whether it's providers, whether it's yourselves as municipalities, whether it's the CETAs themselves, QCTO, DHET, any of the players in skills development, it is not uncommon for them to operate in crisis mode, forever putting out fires. You wake up in the morning, there's no point in having a diary, because when you get to work, throw all that aside, deal with this crisis now. And you planned, okay, I'm gonna interview these officials today, and you get to work, forget that, deal with this crisis now. It happens. But I'm telling you now, if you don't do the planning, and maybe even have a conversation with your boss and say, you know what, I've embarked on this journey. I come from the orientation, the candidacy readiness workshop, and I've now become aware of the seriousness of this workshop, of this program that I have committed myself to. I need us to talk. I'm going to do some serious planning. I'm going to earmark and ring fence certain time slots on my diary. It's going to be very difficult for me not to honor those. So when we plan, we need to plan around this. So, I don't know. Find a way of setting aside time for your candidacy program. Take note of prior scheduled dates, especially the workshops that have been pre-planned and scheduled and already communicated to you via email and on the WhatsApp group. And make sure that you have a structured approach, a professional approach to your candidacy program, and not leave it to chance. Right? I've already said, attend the POE building workshop. It is critical in getting you kick-started on this journey. And then, of course, gather your evidence, and we'll talk about the evidence with our self-evaluation discussions. I've already mentioned the evidence to you, but we'll get into a lot more detail as we go along concerning that evidence gathering. And then here are some tips for you, right? A professional plans and overcomes obstacles to meet deadlines. The meeting of deadlines came out when you were defining what professionalism is in your job. A professional honors appointments, delivers high quality of work, is contactable and responsive. Both. Guys, we've been running this program in the local government space. It is amazing how people are not contactable. And we ask ourselves, you are dealing with people, you're planning their training, you are dealing with SDF, well, other SDFs as well. You are dealing with officials, you're dealing with your bosses. There's SALGA, there's COCTA, there's the LG CETA. There are other players, I mean, that are involved on this journey that you're involved in. You are not contactable. You don't respond to your WhatsApp for days. You don't respond to emails. You ignore the first, the second, the third email. Silence. It cannot happen to you. Tell yourself it will not happen. I will be responsive. I will be contactable. In other words, when people try and get hold of me, they will get hold of me. Even if it's to say, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you, but you must be contactable and you must be responsive. Otherwise, your professional image is in question. And we'll deal with the professional image when we do the professionalism workshop. Okay? Now be aware, there's caution on the screen there. Due dates are closer than they appear. When you tell yourself, I've still got 3 weeks, I'll come back to this thing. Let me advise you, don't blink. Don't blink. if you blink, those 3 weeks are gone and the deadline is on top of you and you haven't done what you were supposed to have done. So do it immediately. Okay? Focus, focus, focus. Remind yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Reflect on what we've covered here. What does the designation give you? How does it compare with the qualification? What does it mean to me? What can this designation do for me in my professionalism journey, in my pursuit of higher credibility, in my pursuit of wanting to be taken seriously at work as a skills development facilitator? What is this designation going to do for me? Why am I doing it? For those reasons. Don't forget that fundamental reason why you're on this journey. And keep reminding yourself so that you don't become slack and start putting it on the back burner, because that is a risk that confronts you. Okay, so this is my last slide. And this is where you now get to see what is the journey that lies ahead, the way forward. So the first thing was you registered and we did the self-evaluation. And of course, with the self-evaluation is the mentorship. And we are going to complete the rest of you so that you've now ticked that box and we've done the self-evaluation process. This is where we confirm with you the appropriate professional designation to pursue. Then the workshop of today is what's happening right now. And we are well on track as far as that is concerned. So this is where we are. Then the next thing is going to be this POE building workshop that I've been talking about. And it is included in the emails that you've received initially. The first email and then the second one where we change the dates. So that's this workshop. And the new date for this POE building workshop, let's just quickly confirm that again, and which serves also as a reminder. Where is my calendar? Andy, do you have it at hand? Let me just call it up quickly.
10 o'clock.
28th of November, same time, 10 o'clock. So if you had ignored the notice in the email, if you had ignored the notice in the WhatsApp group, which I highly doubt for the people that are in the room at the moment, the fact that you are here means you took note of those dates and you scheduled them. So I don't think we have any fear with the people that are in the room at the moment. It's the people that are not here that we need to just also, remind. And we will be communicating in the WhatsApp group and via email again, just to re-emphasize the importance and the reminder of the date of the 28th of November. So that's the POE building workshop. Then we're going to do the POE completion planning. Now, this is an individual mentorship session. It runs for about 2 hours. It's quite intensive. And that's where I am going to spend that time with you as an individual. We're going to do it on Teams. And we're going to do a detailed planning of how exactly you're going to develop your POE. We're going to, you are going to need to think of what are the specific examples of projects or activities or tasks that you performed, which you're going to use as examples in your POE. We're going to go into the detail of that. And I'm going to get you to think of what documents are you going to use to support your example, so that we have that conversation, right? So that's the POE completion planning. We are also going to put in a schedule of dates for you so that you have an action plan when we're done. An action plan with scheduled dates of how you're going to complete your POE. So that's an individual one-on-one. It's going to be your individual plan, and it's going to be quite specific and detailed. So from that point onwards, I mean, the mentorship, you can see it cuts across all the way. So you've got the POE completion. So you compile, you now do the POE. And during that time, we will schedule one-on-one sessions so that wherever you reach, where you need additional assistance, you need to discuss, I need to give you feedback, you'll upload what you've done, I'll review it, we schedule a meeting, we discuss, and then you go and you make improvements. And so we go along until the point where you submit it for evaluation. Now that detail of how to submit, we will cover in the POE building workshop. The evaluator will also give you feedback, and it will be written feedback, same as an assessor does with the normal POE, but you will also have an opportunity to have a verbal discussion with the evaluator so that you can fully understand the context of the evaluator feedback. Right? We do have a remediation opportunity. So you'll do your remediation, then there is a verification process. So remember I said that this is a SAQA registered designation. So the same SAQA rules apply, which apply to normal quality assurance processes. So there's the assessment, there's the moderation, there's the verification, you know, all of those. In our case, this is the process, right? So you'll have the verification and then the award, right? So that's where you get your designation certificate, and we congratulate you, and you pop your bottle of champagne, right? So visualize yourself in this block, standing with 2 certificates in your hand. One is a professional body membership certificate, and the second one is a professional designation certificate. And the third one is the broad smile on your face when you're taking the picture. But this is the one that we would like you to see in your mind's eye and not lose sight of that thought as you pursue the designation. The support will be there for you all the way to make sure that you are not feeling alone, that you also motivated along the way. Sometimes you just need some encouragement, you know, and off you go again. So we will be there all the way to support you until you reach that point with that broad smile on your face. You know the feeling when you achieve your qualification, right? So we're working towards that feeling. Yeah. Then of course you plug into the CPD, and we will cover the CPD properly in the CPD workshop, which will also be communicated in advance. I think the CPD workshop is included in the schedule of workshops that we have shared with you. So that's the journey that lies ahead, colleagues. This is what you've gotten yourself into. Right. Now, are there any questions of clarity? Are there any questions of clarity? Before, I'm going to ask Andy to post in the chat. We have a feedback, a workshop evaluation that we're going to ask you to do online. And Andy will put a link in the chat so that when you click on the link, you'll be able to just quickly do the workshop evaluation and submit. It will take you probably 1 minute to do. I see that the link is in the chat now. So you can feel free to go ahead and click on it and do the feedback right now. It's important for us because we really would like to continuously improve the program, and we value your input. So please be as honest as you possibly can be. We would really appreciate that. So questions, colleagues? Any questions or comments? Inputs? Feel free to raise your hand so that we can ask you to unmute, or post something in the chat if you prefer. I see we are now sitting on 15 people in the session, so we are exactly on the 50% mark. Okay, in the absence of questions, Andy, as you know, we are confronted with one of two possibilities. Now, let me behave like like the way a typical facilitator would. We're faced with one of two possibilities. It's either you are completely confused, or you're completely confused because I haven't been able to explain things clearly enough, or I've been so good at explaining that I've left you with nothing unclear. It's one of those two extremes, Andy.
So Keke has put some comments in the chat box. Have a look.
In the chat, let's have a look. Keke says, thank you, Keke. This was a very fruitful workshop. Thank you, Jonathan. This was an eye-opener. We definitely know where to from here. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Keke. All right, so that's it then. Have we had, how many, are you able to see, Andy, how many, have we had enough people doing the evaluation?
And I don't get that directly, but I will leave this open for another couple of minutes, just in case somebody still wants to use that link.
Yes, please, guys, you need to give us that feedback. We'd really, really, really appreciate it. Just click on the link. It's very quick. Click on it, and it's just a few questions. And so that we can then make an assessment of generally, even though we're sitting at 50% of the number of registered people, but 50% is a fair representation of what you say and how you feel about the workshop. So thank you very much. For the rest of you whom I have not met with yet, you can expect me to contact you during the course of today so that we can then agree on a time we need to do and complete the rest of those self-evaluation mentorship discussions, so that we try as far as possible to complete them by the end of this week. So we've done many already, and it's going quite well, but we need to complete. Okay, so in the absence of questions then, we have reached the end. I'd like to thank you all. I must commend you. I must commend you for being here. I must also commend you for the participation. I must say the participation, especially during that interactive session. You know, we do groups all the time, and the quality of your inputs definitely is high up, you know, in comparison with groups that we work with. So thank you very much. We do appreciate that. It gives us a feel good, you know, and it causes us to really look forward to this journey. So I can only see in my mind's eye some professional designations being achieved, let's say around, what is it, January, February, somewhere from about March onwards. I have a feeling if that is the quality of inputs, then the likelihood is we're going to start seeing designations from March onwards. Andy, what do you think?
I think even before then.
Even before. So thank you very much. We do accept that there are probably unforeseen circumstances that came up for the rest, the other 15 people, but it is something that we will need to have discussions about, because the sending an apology at least would be something that one would expect of a professional. But of course, we are having the conversation about being professional, and the entire purpose of the candidacy program is to improve our image, to improve our credibility, and this is part of the journey. So mishaps will still happen along the way. There's tolerance for error, no doubt about that, but there's going to be very little tolerance for irresponsible behavior and unprofessional behavior. So you know, let's hold ourselves accountable. Let's clap our own selves when we drop the ball. But of importance is to make the commitment that next time it's going to be better. But thank you guys for being professional, for attending with us, and I wish you well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good week, and we will remain in contact on an ongoing basis now on this journey. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, no good. So we're not going to love in person.